Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to the Booms and Busts show. My name is Jonathan Davis. Today is Monday, the 25th of February, 2019. The Booms and Busts show is about free markets, liberty, freedom, and we try to explain to you how clearly socialism has never, ever worked. You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. On February the 22nd, 1977, the Eagles released Hotel California. My goodness, how prophetic. Also, on February the 22nd, it marked the 76th anniversary of the death of Sophie Scholl, an anti-Nazi political activist convicted of high treason after having been found distributing anti-war leaflets at the University of Munich with her brother Hans. They were both executed by guillotine. The White Rose was a non-violent intellectual resistance group in the Third Reich, led by a group of students and a professor at the University of Munich. The group conducted an anonymous leaflet and graffiti campaign that called for active opposition to the Nazi Party regime. In total, the White Rose authored 6 leaflets, which were multiplied and spread in a total of 15,000 copies. They denounced the Nazi regime's crimes and oppression and called for resistance. Initially, her brother had been keen to keep her unaware of their activities, but once she discovered them, she joined him and proved valuable to the group because as a woman, her chances of being randomly stopped by the SS were much smaller. In addition to authorship, Fraulein Scholl helped copy, distribute and mail pamphlets while also managing the group's finances. She and the rest of the White Rose were arrested for distributing the 6th leaflet at the university on the 18th of February 1943. The 18th of February. And what happened to her on the 22nd? Swift justice, huh? In the People's Court before Judge Roland Freisler, on the 21st of February 1943, 3 days after she was arrested, Scholl was recorded as saying these words: "Somebody, after all, had to make a start. What we wrote and said is also believed by many others. They just don't dare express themselves as we did." On the 22nd of February 1943, Fraulein Scholl, her brother Hans, and their friend Christoph Probst were found guilty of treason and condemned to death. They were all beheaded by a guillotine by executioner Johann Reichhardt in Munich's Stadelheim prison, only a few hours later at 1700 hours. Her last words were, "How can we expect righteousness to prevail when there is hardly anyone willing to give himself up individually to a righteous cause? Such a fine sunny day, and I have to go. But what does my death matter if through us thousands of people are awakened and stirred to action?" Following her execution, murder, a copy of that 6th leaflet was smuggled out of Germany through Scandinavia to the UK by German jurist Helmut James Graf von Moltke, where it was used by the Allied forces. In mid-1943, they dropped over Germany millions of copies of the now retitled The Manifesto of the Students of Munich. Fraulein Sophie Scholl, an amazing real heroine, died at the age of 21 and the maturity of 1,000 years. You want to know more? Read Frank McDonough's book, The Woman Who Defied Hitler, Sophie Scholl. Talking of socialism, you know that 29-year-old Congresswoman, AOC? My question is, was this her or an actress taking the Michael?
Hey, Seth. Welcome back.
All right, well, thank you. So are you excited about the holidays?
Excited? I'm repulsed, Seth. All this commercialism around Christmas, it's an outrage. It's a tragedy. It's like, what are we even doing? And like, why? And like, don't.
Hey, you really seem like you're in the Christmas spirit.
You mean the Christmas spirit? Oh, right. You don't care about Jesus because you worship Hallmark.
Oh, boy.
You need to wake up and smell the music, Seth. There are homeless people out there who can't even pay their mortgages. Is that what George Washington had in mind when he started America? It's like, read something, Seth. Learn a book.
Learn it?
Fact. For every 5 people who are hungry, there are 5 people who are too full. It's like, switch stomachs. And fact. For every 4 men, there are 2 women. And that's just supposed to be acceptable? No. We need bipartisanships.
Bipartisanships? Like ships that are bipartisan?
Like ships that are bipartisan? You need to grow up, Seth. Because there are some people in Africa right now where it's like, no. Also, I'm sorry. Why can't Secret Santa just be openly gay? Like, hello, it's 2010. Hold on. This is not my phone.
Okay.
Stop. Can I do a minstrel show real quick?
No!
Okay, fine. You're reverse racist. That's even worse. Ingrid! I hate her. Son, what'd you ask for Christmas?
I don't want to tell you.
Would you relax? I'm just asking what you want for Christmas.
Okay, well, I was hoping to get the new iPad.
I asked for an end to genocide. Okay? So maybe next time you're on your new iPad,
Yeah.
look up how to be a decent human being.
Okay, you know what? I think I should just take a lap and meet some other people.
Give me like 40 more minutes.
No.
I gotta show you this thing my friend Trevor made. He's like gay, but he only hooks up with women. It's origami.
No, that's great.
That's Spanish for goose.
No, we don't have time for this. I think you should go.
Okay, fine, I'll go. But I have 14 words for you, Seth.
Oh, boy.
Peace, family, sustainable farming, don't pick pigeons, reading is our future, and minstrel show. Close your eyes, Seth. Watch. No, close them. Watch. Open them. Whoa. Welcome to America, Seth.
If you're having a party you wish you hadn't started a conversation with.
I'm sitting here laughing, and I've heard that a couple of times. So good. Absolutely brilliant. She is pretty well the face of socialism now in America. A 29-year-old New York Congresswoman. It's just, we are moving closer and closer into socialism. And she is pushing this massive thing, the Green New Deal. New Deal refers to the 1930s New Deal nonsense, communism rubbish that exacerbated the Great Depression. Have you noticed that the people who preach sustainable food and sustainable energy never seem to promote sustainable economic policies? It's true. So last night, while we were all asleep, the Americans had their Oscar ceremony, which we absolutely have to talk about because it's incredibly serious, and everyone who attended is of course a very serious-minded person who truly cares for everyone else. So Lady Gaga won Best Supporting or Best Actress or something, I can't quite remember. I just want to say here and now, I have started the campaign for a peerage for Lady Gaga. Their Excellencies Earl and Countess Gaga are so proud, well they would be, if they were real. As it happens, I'm taking daughter number 1 to A Star Is Born on Thursday evening. That's absolutely true. A Star Is Born, it's the third musical incarnation of A Star Is Born. The last one had the amazing Barbra Streisand and Chris Christopherson, and before that we had the equally amazing Judy Garland and James Mason, 2 really excellent films. Personally, I preferred the Judy Garland one. Amazing film. I'm not expecting much from this one. But, you know, the director and creator of this film, Bradley Cooper, who's also the star, where did he get his inspiration from for this film? Olivia Colman got Best Actress Oscar. I think actually she got it for that AA car loans advert she did some years ago. It's true. Google it. Deep and meaningful stuff. Can I just ask, you know, one of the big questions of the day, why are there no Oscars for internet GIFs? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. What has the UK become? Yesterday afternoon, an African preacher was arrested in London by a tube station for preaching Jesus Christ. That was number 1. Number 2, Cheshire Police, which rejected a potential star recruit because he is a white heterosexual male, has been found guilty of discrimination. Matthew Furlong's father is a serving detective inspector in Cheshire Police. After making it through the interview stage, he said he was told it was refreshing to meet someone as well prepared as yourself, and that he could not have done any more. But he was later told he had lost out to other candidates, leading his father to lodge a complaint. Matthew studied particle physics and cosmology at Lancaster University. He won an employment tribunal case which found Cheshire Police discriminated against him on the grounds of sexual orientation, race and sex. The employment tribunal ruled that Cheshire Constabulary used positive action where employers take steps to recruit certain types of people with different characteristics, but in a discriminatory way. Jennifer Ainscoe, an employment lawyer at Slater and Gordon, said Matthew was denied his dream job simply because he was a white, heterosexual male. This is the first reported case of its kind in the UK where positive action has been used in a discriminatory way. Had he not been such an exceptional candidate, he may not even have suspected anything was wrong. And this unlawful and unacceptable selection process may have been allowed to continue. And this is where I put it in bold letters and underlined it. Positive action must be applied lawfully to ensure the highest caliber of candidates are recruited regardless of race, gender or sexual orientation, and to ensure standards in police forces are maintained to properly protect our society. Focus on this, listener. The tribunal ruled that while positive action can be used to boost diversity, it should only be applied to distinguish between candidates who were all equally well qualified for a role. How many of us understood the law? Now we do. Cheshire Police laughingly claimed it had seen 127 candidates who were equally suitable for the role of police constable. Tribunal ruled this a, quote, fallacy, unquote, and said imposing such an artificially low threshold, assigning candidates a pass or fail rather than any kind of score, was not a proportionate response to addressing the force's lack of diversity. Cheshire Police is run, of course, by senior police people. In other words, bureaucrats, managers, not leaders, managers, pen pushers, paper pushers. And Cheshire Police was among a number of forces criticised in 2015 for having no black officers. Do you know how many blacks there are in Cheshire? But it has since taken steps to improve opportunities for those with protected characteristics related to black, Asian and minority ethnic gender, sexual orientation and disability. Its efforts have resulted in a number of national awards and recognition, including being chosen to host the National Black Police Association's conference in 2017. And that clearly is what was more important to the leaders of Cheshire Police than actually getting the best people in the force. The case has been adjourned until later this year for a remedy hearing to determine the amount of compensation to be awarded. It doesn't sound as if Matthew Furlong is actually going to get the job. On January the 25th, all 7 members of China's elite Politburo, including President Xi Jinping, gathered at the headquarters of the People's Daily newspaper to underline the importance of convergence media and digital media development as a means of strengthening the party's dominance of ideas and information. What exactly does this mean? How will the party leverage digital technology to reprogram propaganda in the 21st century? As I'm saying it, I'm thinking of the movie 1984. Already in 2019, we have witnessed one product that provides at least part of the answer. On New Year's Day, they launched the Z Study Strong Nation, an authoritative and content-rich platform, especially for theoretical study. Bear with me. The Z Study Strong Nation mobile app is a tool by means of which, once installed, the Communist Party can assert its ideological and intellectual authority over party members and employees of party-run institutions, including universities, schools, and the media. Beyond making party messages passively available, as party newspapers and state-controlled media have done for decades, the app commands engagement, by which users can earn Z-Study points. Once engagement with the app is enforced by administrative demands that it be installed and used, something that is already happening, the messages of the party become inescapable. Gone are the days when you can simply ignore the stock of party newspapers in the corner of the office, or switch off the party's nightly newscast, Xinwen Lanbo. The app designed and built by the Propaganda and Public Opinion Research Center of the Central Propaganda Department of the Chinese Communist Party. The platform has been designed with a built-in, as I say, study point system that allows users to accumulate points on the basis of habitual use of the platform, from reading and viewing of content to the posting of comments and other forms of engagement. It has been widely promoted by local governments and ministries and departments across China, and there have also been reports that some work units have ordered employees to attain specified point levels, with disciplinary measures to be imposed for those who fail to comply. This has very real implications at the personal level. In a post to the social networking site Douban last month, a post since deleted, we have the archive of the post. One user talked about how her mother, a teacher at a small town school, had been required to earn a minimum of 40 points a day on the Z Study Strong Nation app. This particular user was not familiar with the new app until they noticed it on a trip home during winter break that their mother, typically not a habitual smartphone user, was spending a great deal of time glued to the screen. The user said, "When I went home over winter break, I discovered that my mum, who generally didn't use her mobile so much, was on it every single night, and even would not sleep until late into the night, while she generally was asleep by 10 o'clock. I found this really strange, and only after I asked about it did I learn that the education committee at the sub-district level had ordered teachers at all schools to download the app and to earn points by fulfilling various tasks every day. Mum is already approaching 50. Her eyes aren't so good anymore, and for someone so unfamiliar with how to use a smartphone, earning 40 points was for her an extremely difficult thing. Moreover, this app makes quite total demands on one's time and by nature is extremely intrusive, so that it's virtually impossible to operate it simultaneously while one reads a book or otherwise relaxes. Even circumvention demands engagement. The potential of the smartphone as a tool through which authoritarian regimes can shape and reinforce dominance over the population. Like the Little Red Book of Mao Zedong era, Z Study Strong Nation puts the core thought of the supreme leader in the palm of your hand. But the book has been revolutionized. It now interacts with you and takes the measure of you. It can determine just how smart you are when it comes to your devotion and your grasp of the ideological essentials. Long live the digital dictatorship. David Bandursky, who wrote most of that, is an honorary lecturer at the Journalism and Media Studies Centre at the University of Hong Kong. If we do not Brexit, I tell you again, listener, that kind of crap will come to us sooner than you can imagine. The China Xinhua News unveils the world's first artificial intelligence TV news anchor. What the hell? They make up the news already anyway, eh? Might as well create the anchor. On the other hand, it's got no ego, no contract negotiations, no harassment revelations, and no 7 or 8 figure salaries. You remember Talking Heads? The lead singer, David Byrne, Scottish-American incidentally. And you may ask yourself, etc. He said this, remarkably, in 1979, almost probably before I'd even ever seen a computer. First time I saw a computer, I think, was in 1980. Paradoxically, they'll be surrounded by computers the size of wristwatches. Calculators will be cheap. It was 1979. It'll be as easy to hook up your computer with a central television bank as it is to get the week's groceries. I think we'll be cushioned by amazing technological development and sitting on Salvation Army furniture. Everything else will be crumbling. It doesn't bother me too much, but it isn't something to look forward to. Government surveillance becomes inevitable because there's this dilemma when you have an increase in information storage. A lot of it is for your convenience, but as more information gets on file, it's bound to be misused. China is an disgusting, disgusting country. Forget all the great stories about how in the last 25 years it's become a 21st century and they're ploughing trillions into this and that. It's all borrowed money. It's all fake. As they say, it's a potemic, not sure if that's exactly the right word, society. It's all fake. For example, in Fujian, they have a solution to falling house prices. The local authorities have banned falling house prices. Other cities have told developers to reverse price cuts, and one went so far as to punish a developer's lender. It's all nonsense. Now, are we investors in China? You're dead right we are. Stock market's hot to trot. But remember, the stock market is not the economy. At some point, China is going to be the biggest blow up in the history of the universe. But as to when, I've no idea. Coming back to Blighty. Last week, over 200 University of Essex students, aka idiots, voted against the establishment of a Jewish society at the university. Quelle surprise! Dr. Maruf Ali, a lecturer who shared anti-Semitic posts on Facebook, including Holocaust denial, campaigned against the establishment of the society, writing, "The Zionists next want to create a society here at our university." Ali has been suspended by the uni. I don't know the outcome. The Imam of Peace, Imam Tawhidi, tweets, Mona Ibrahim, an Israeli Muslim, has just become the youngest doctor in Israel at the age of 23. How many like Mona exist in our Muslim countries? And why is that the case? Why can the, quote, evil Jews, unquote, reach the moon, and we are still worrying about the direction in which we use the toilet? His tweet. So, you heard Amazon will not set up in New York City after all. Thousands of very high-paying jobs will not come. What you heard was the Democrats, like AOC, wanted trades unions and high taxes and whatever. That's partly it. The reality is that Amazon were told they could not establish their facial recognition crap across New York City. Jeff Bezos is not the warm and cuddly guy you have been told to see him as. He owns the Washington Post, for goodness sake. He is the biggest lobbyist in Washington. Citizen Kane springs to mind. Comment about Bremain, because obviously it's not Brexit, comes from Albert Camus. Men who have greatness within them do not go in for politics. I'm not going to say anything else about Bremain. It's just too ugly. I was thinking about the state, the parlous state of our education, our comprehensive education system, and how it is unchanged in many decades, apart, of course, from them throwing vast amounts of our money at it. This is my forecast for the future of education. 1. Homeschooling will become very common. 2. The stigma around tutoring will disappear. 3. The best online teachers, who will of course be teaching thousands, will make more than £1 million a year. If you listen to the Booms and Busts podcast, as you do, listener, you should also be reading the Booms and Busts report, which I email out every 2 months. Send me your name, your full name and email address to jd@theboomsandbustsshow.com. You will never be junk mailed. You really, really need to be reading the Booms and Busts report if you truly care about your retirement planning. The easiest way, if you're a new listener to the show, to in future get the Booms and Busts show is go on to audioboom.com, click listen, search for Booms, you'll see the show come up, click on it, click subscribe, and it will automatically be sent to you to your listening device. You can also go on Podcast Addict. Economics. It's the 25th of February. On the 21st of February, 1848, an amazing thing was published. It's so beautiful. It breaks my heart. A gentleman, a very well off from an upper, in fact, 2 guys from the upper middle classes who never worked a day in their lives, by the name of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, published the Communist Manifesto. And over the next roughly 150 years, about 120 million human beings were murdered in the name of communism or fascism. They are 2 sides of the same coin. And I would guesstimate another 300 million human beings. I mean, the numbers are astronomical. Another 300 million human beings, 10% of the global population at the time, were incarcerated and tortured by these ugly, ugly people. Now, in market parlance, when the City or Wall Street overweights a stock, it means that they say you should buy more. And when it underweights, you should sell. So last week was pretty funny. On the same day that Weight Watchers was downgraded to underweight, McDonald's was upgraded to overweight. These are the funny things that happen in the markets. 16 countries now have manufacturing purchasing managers indexes readings below 50. there's no question, there is an economic slowdown that has been going on. So the survey below 50 means contraction, above 50 means expansion. 16 countries is not to be sniffed at. But as I say, the market is not the economy. The market is in a multi-year bull, whatever the economy is doing. And because of general slowdown, because the stock market fell in November and December, and then we had utterances from the Fed, the market is now pricing in practically 0% odds of a Federal Reserve rate hike in 2019. In November, listener, it was 92% probable. It's now less than 5% probable. So that's one of the reasons why the stock market is soaring. It's another reason why gold is soaring, for example. Here's an interesting forecast that someone's made. In just 4 years, in 2023, globally, someone has estimated that the business of tattoo removal services is likely to be worth $27 billion. Wow. Now, roughly a quarter of Apple's total $50 billion of services income now comes from Google, who pays Apple over $12 billion a year to be the default search engine on the iPhone. If Google was as good as they say it is, why does it have to pay $1 billion a month to be the default search? Isn't that interesting? US government debt as a share of GDP in 1979, it's only 40 years ago, 31%. 10 years later, 50%. 10 years later, 1999, 58%. It's not exactly rising fast. 2009, it had jumped 83%. 10 years later, because of Obama and Trump's borrowings, US government debt as a percentage of US GDP is now 108%. As those interest rates rise, they have to borrow more to pay the interest. This is problematic. The economy, listener, is not the market. Now, we'll come back to that gold snippet in a moment. Stocks. Okay. Now, I did a piece on YouTube last week. I did the FTSE as a proxy for global stocks. Go on to my YouTube channel and find it. It's only 4.5 minutes. It's pretty cool. It presents the case for the multi-year and possibly even multi-decade bull market for UK and therefore global stocks. In the US, there are just under 1,800 stocks where they have a total market capitalization of at least $2 billion. So clearly, 1,800 companies are sizable to mega. 624 of them, that's 35%, their stock price has gone up at least 20% just this year. This is not indicative of a bear market, as practically everyone else is saying. And I say again to you, listener, why are you subscribing to those services? Why are you getting their weekly or even daily or monthly emails? Why are you following them on Twitter? They are not helping you. They're costing you money. I don't charge you a penny, and I have made you money. If you have done your due diligence based on the ideas that I've put out here. The S&P 500 is up more than 10% so far this year. There are only 5 other instances since World War II when this S&P was up more than 10% by the end of February. Only 5 other instances in 97, 91, 87, 76 and 75 going backwards. So it's the 25th. We've got 3.5 days left. If the market stays at least above 10%, what happened to the other 5 years in the final 10 months of the year? Well, in 75, the market was up 10%. In 76, 8%. 87, 13%. 91, 14%. 97, 22%. So far, 5 out of 5 times that we had such a strong start to the year, we had a very strong finish. As I say, let's see if we're at least 10% up over the next 3.5 days. I rather suspect we will be. The Fed's balance sheet is now below $4 trillion for the first time since December 2013. You know, we're talking about basically money printing. That's in essence what we're talking about. And for the last year and a quarter, the Fed has actually not been doing quantitative easing. They've been doing quantitative tightening. They've been reducing their balance sheet. They've been taking money out of the system. Since January 15, it's actually longer than I said. It's the Fed peaked in January 15. And that since then they've been reducing the balance sheet. It's down 12% from the peak. That's 4 years? And yet the S&P 500 is up 40%. Remember when the other people you listened to lied to you and said that a shrinking Fed balance sheet would lead to a stock market crash? Stop listening to them. Stop buying the newspapers, the newsletters, and the tipster magazines. You know the ones I'm talking about. Emerging markets, I've just done another piece, a 4-minute piece. It'll be on my YouTube channel tomorrow. If global stocks are in multi-year bull, emerging markets are going to lead. The chart is so incredibly strong. Greek banks, very interesting. Absolutely decimated, of course. But you know what? They have risen 50%, some of them, in 2 weeks. Is this the great multi-year, multi-decade rise of the Greek stock market beginning to happen? Interesting. Uranium miners, which I've talked about in great detail. I previously, on a previous show, I mentioned fission uranium. And I talked about how incredible that company is, led by an incredible leader. Now think on Western Uranium and Vanadium Corporation, led by Glazier, who has a hefty percent of the shares in this company. He takes practically nothing as a salary. Listen to this. The market capitalization of Western is under $20 million. And at current prices of uranium and vanadium that it has in its land, it has $2 billion. Go and do your own due diligence. And if your wealth advisor, portfolio manager, whatever, is not talking to you about uranium miners, why are you not asking them, why the hell not? You should be reading the Booms and Bust report. jd@theboomsandbusshow.com. Send me your full name. You'll never be junk mailed. Only 1 year ago, and if you're talking about uranium, you've got to be talking about electric vehicles, Morgan Stanley and other bank analysts were calling for electric vehicle EV penetration of about 8 to 12% by 2025. China is on track for EVs of 8% by the end of this year, and 50% by 2025. China, I think, might be the biggest car buying country now in the world, and it's taking EVs through the stratosphere. Why do you think all these companies, oil manufacturers, are going back to Korea and Japan and whatever to build their cars? Dyson is going to build them in Singapore because China is where they're actually buying the cars. Singapore, they'll buy the cars. Hong Kong, they'll buy the cars. Japan, they'll buy the cars. I've got an amazing chart here. Global electric vehicle sales. In January 17, globally, there was sales of about 40,000 electric vehicles. By December 17, it was 175,000. December 2018, 270,000. In 2 years, it's gone from 45,000 to 270,000 a month. You got uranium? Why not? Gold. Oh my God. Listen very carefully. I shall say this only once. If you don't know what I'm talking about, hello. 1972 to 1980, gold went up 1,300%. The S&P went up 100%. But then in the next 20 years, gold went down 50%, and the stock market went up 2,000%. In the next 11 years, gold went up 450%. The stock market was flat. And from 2012 to today, gold is net down 15%, and the stock market is up 160%. It is my contention that we are now in a multi-year bull market for gold, and goodness knows what therefore that means for gold miners. Put your sunglasses and look up into the sky is the analogy I'm going to use for miners. And multi-year. We could be talking the next 5 to 10 years. Why do you think the top 4 companies globally, gold mining, the biggest multi-billion-dollar companies, why have they merged into 2 mega companies? Similarly, why literally today has Barrick Gold, another billion-dollar company, launched a bid to acquire another billion-dollar company, Newmont? A $19 billion deal, which means the top 6 will become the top 3 because they know it's just kicking off. Now, literally in the next few weeks, we might see a handle to the cup of gold. Gold's been up for 7 months. It's currently, let me look at my chart. Let me pull the right one up. Gold is $1,327. It was $1,160 back in August. I've said before, it could come back to $1,300, $1,280, maybe even $1,260. Or it might just push on through. But if you're an investor, what are you waiting for? Do your due diligence. Go in, whatever you decide to allocate, once you've done your due diligence, allocate some just now and then add to it as it gets stronger or it gets weaker. As far as I'm concerned, it's a mega, mega bull. I'm sure you will not be disappointed. Cannabis stocks. Yes, cannabis stocks. Listen to the chief executive of Tilray, an important cannabis company, Brendan Kennedy. We see increasing global demand. When I joined the sector in 2010, medical cannabis was legal in 15 countries. Today, there are more than 35 countries, and it's very clear to me that there will be more than 60 in the next 2 to 3 years. Are you in cannabis? You better should be. But again, make sure you're in the right companies. Maybe in a fund is probably best. Okay, we've got plenty of time to look at lots of lovely quotes, but I'm not going to. I've got a few sort of clever things to look at. Listener, people don't want truth. They, and I have to say, it includes you, they want validation for their opinions. They don't want you to change their minds. Anyone who comes listening to this show and comes back, I haven't changed their mind. It's what they want to hear anyway. They want you to corroborate their a priori beliefs. Remember this whenever you feel the urge to correct or convince someone. On Twitter, anyone who follows me closely on Twitter at Booms Busts Show will know that if I come across someone who keeps pushing out non sequiturs, who doesn't stick to the point, who comes up with spurious arguments, I don't care. I'm not a politician. I'm not there to convince anyone of anything. I just literally call them an idiot and then say, you're muted. Like Alan Sugar, you're fired. And I literally mute them. I don't want to hear from them ever again. I'm not interested in follower numbers and all that nonsense. I would love there to be thousands and thousands of people listening to the Booms and Busts show. I would love that. And I think that needs lots and lots more people following Booms Busts show on Twitter. But I couldn't say that for sure. But I'm not there to convince anyone of anything. They are there to read and hear what they want to read and hear. Very, very rarely will anyone ever listen to this show or read tweets of mine and change their views. At the most, it might possibly just about make them question their thinking for a nanosecond. That's the reality. You know this thing about socialism and capitalism? If anyone ever quotes socialism to you, you just tell them this. Your life is much better than that of Queen Victoria's King Father. All because of capitalism. Charlie Munger is Warren Buffett's partner. A truly, truly great man, 95 years old and still intellectually as sharp as a button. He said, "Don't expect much from human nature. You're bound to be disappointed by its defects." And those socialists, evil socialists, called Winston Churchill a villain. You couldn't make it up. This is what Churchill said. When I was 20, I cared what everyone thought about me. When I was 40, I didn't give a damn what anyone thought of me. Now that I'm 60, I realize that no one was thinking about me at all. An old man is lying in his bed, dying. With a weak voice, he asks his wife, "Is my wife here?" "Yes, I'm here." "Are my children here?" "Yes, Dad, we're all here." "Are my grandchildren here?" "Yes, Grandad, we're all here." Then why is the light in the kitchen still on? Listener, I've had absolutely a blast. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I hope you will click to subscribe so that it will automatically come to your listening device, audioboom.com. Thank you for listening. I'll see you again. Bye.